does it sometimes feel like you're fumbling around in the dark and you're not really sure what direction you should be taking? It feels like you're giving everyone else so much to the point of exhaustion sometimes and overwhelm. And we're those same people when you need help. If that's you, listen on. I've got some ideas on how you can make the change. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. So not strictly speaking sport. In fact, actually today, nothing to do with sport, but just an experience I just had. It was a bit weird, uplifting, also, just weird. So I just went to the shop. We're having a party here tomorrow, just picking up some supplies, and I immediately noticed the guy where the trolley section is, with a cane, like because he was blind, sort of getting lost in amongst the trolleys. And so I just asked him where he was heading, and because I thought he was trying to find his way into the shop, just thinking it'd just be a really easy solution of walking him around the corner and getting him into the shop. But he said, "Oh no, I need to get to the exit." Thinking, okay, well, it's just the exit to the supermarket, be fine. But he needed to get outside the shopping centre. So we're in a Westfield, so you can imagine, right? It's quite a big shopping centre, a mall. And then realising where he needed to get was a fairly long navigation, given that we'd have to avoid things like some of the staircases, which would have been too tricky for him, and getting to the travelator, which is flat and easy and not too many people around. And he was a bit unsteady on his feet as well. So okay, cool. It's going to be a bit longer than what I was expecting. What really struck me was I got a few smiles from people sitting on the benches around there who obviously were just watching him. But then as I was walking, I was just thinking, like, how long were they going to watch him? Like he looked like he'd been in there for a while, like almost in a daze. And there's people everywhere, and no one took the time just to kind of steer him in the wrong direction. Can be thinking about a couple of things, like what this is where we've come to as a society. Like, people are too worried about what an impact it might have on them to stop and lend people a hand. Like, you hear the stories all the time about people talking about getting into trouble, or maybe they get attacked or anything, and just how appreciative they are that someone will take the time to stop, but also how amazing it is that some people just won't. They don't want to get involved, and it's probably a pretty sad reflection on society in a lot of ways. But it also got me thinking about how often men don't ask for help, just try and battle away in the dark, for this guy quite literally, without help. New client this week, and that's kind of what he was saying in a way. He's like, he'd never really thought he would get a mentor, because he always thought he should have managed it by himself. He thought, this is stuff I should be able to handle. Now I've got a coach. I know now I can't handle some stuff on my own. I mean, I could battle away. I even had a time I did the Roger Federer thing. I thought, I don't need a coach, and I just carried on for about 6 months without it, just seeing how it go. And I got lost, not because there are certain things I can't do, but I really appreciate that ability to externalize what's going on, and then just have someone who's not emotionally connected to me help me make a decision without bringing their bias to the situation. And as good as friends, family, people close to us are, and how helpful they want to be, the reality is they bring bias, particularly the closer they are. They bring an emotional response, and it's more often than not helpful, and quite often to the detriment. And often as a man, you feel like you're doing all the supporting and helping and not getting any back. Like, so how many men are doing that? High percentages. And I know how many men, when they do start coaching with me, I often say, I've been thinking about this for a few years. And then a session or two in, they go, man, why didn't I do this years ago? Because suddenly the shackles are off. They can see a completely different future, and they realize just how much more that they can achieve, how much more success they can have, how much easier it will be, how much less baggage they can carry. I was thinking about a guy I worked with about 3 years ago, and he was going to defer it because he had a busy time coming up. I'm like, mate, this is exactly the time you do need that support. And the biggest thing that we worked on was how people just depended on him. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Now, we often get so much fulfillment from helping, but the problem was he was the one suffering. He was the one who was always exhausted. When he needed help with anything, do you reckon anyone was offering? And the same people that he was helping were never reciprocating. And that's exhausting. And what he said was what I have experienced myself and what I've heard time and time again. Eventually the well runs dry. And you stop being that giving, thoughtful person you were, because you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this and get nothing back. It's not like you get nothing back, but you're putting so much effort into making sure everyone else is right. But where's that person to help you? Where's that person that's going to dedicate as much time and energy into that? So on this walk with this guy who was blind, we got talking. He's just sharing, we're just asking questions about his life, as I do, as I tend to do. And as also tends to happen, random strangers open up about their life. And then we're waiting for the cab. He said to me, I've been drinking a bit too much lately. I'm like, oh, okay. Why do you say that? Oh, well, I've probably been drinking every day, and I've had a couple of incidents. So I'm going to look to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and my mum thinks it's this, mum thinks it's that. Like this guy that I was helping, like he would have been 60 maybe. So I don't know how old his mum was, but she must be an absolute star. And and it's like these sort of challenges, no one's immune from it. Like I imagine he's got more challenges than most, right? I can't comprehend what it's like to not be able to see. He lives on his own, cooks his own food. He was saying, I probably don't eat well enough. He had a few microwave meals in there, but I said to him, mate, like, you've got to do the best for you. Like, I can't, I'm forever cutting my hands when I'm cooking with sharp knives, but I can see, right? And I know they have better senses of other things, but yeah, like, it's seriously impressive. But when he said, yeah, like I've been drinking too much, it had struck me on the walk to the cab, which was a good probably 20, 25 minutes, was like, I feel like he probably doesn't usually have this much problem, but perhaps he has been drinking. And I wasn't going to ask him. I didn't want to be that direct when it's someone I've just met, but I was kind of thinking that. And he did stumble a bit a couple of times. He's like, I can't imagine someone who's battling that much with their cane would be alone in a shopping centre unless there was something else going on. And so what I know of alcohol or other drugs, or let's just use the words drugs to cover anything, is it's a way to numb. It's a way to shut off, stop the brain overthinking, quiet everything. It's mostly the overthinking, I reckon, and just sometimes it's just exhaustion, burnout. I've got to be honest, I'll let you in a little secret. Back in the last year, I knew I was pushing myself to the limit, absolutely redlining, probably over the limit, but there were some things I really wanted to get done, and I just acknowledged that, and I was acknowledging that may come at a cost, but I wanted to get some things done because I knew I was going to have a long break. And it was getting to Fridays, and I was like, start of the week, I probably won't have a drink tonight, but I get to Fridays and like I'm definitely sitting and having a couple of beers and just switching off. And that's me when I do have help and I do have someone I can externalize to. So wasn't by any means sitting there and having a dozen, but I would have 3 or 4 beers and just really just switch off. Not there's anything wrong with that, right? It's not judgment of alcohol. This is more just we develop bad habits because 4 might become 6, might become 8, might become once on the weekend, might become 3 times on the weekend, might become every second day, might become every day, right? And you know that when you're at your best, that's not how it is. Patterns can go in either direction. When you start exercising more, you want to exercise more, you want to have more energy to do that exercise, so you put better fuel in, so you manage that better, you start sleeping better, all of those things. But the same is true of the reverse cycle. When you're doing less of that and you're having more comfort foods and having it more often, drink more often, and that feels pretty good, and then you tend to do a bit more the next time and a bit more the next time. So you're either getting better or you're getting worse as those standing still. Everything's always oscillating. Everything's always moving. So you want to be making sure you're moving in an upward trajectory so that even the downs aren't actually downs. They're more like plateaus. They're just flat lines before the next upward line. But you can't do that if you are in that place of trying to manage it all on your own. And usually the description is, I thought I should have had all this sorted on my own. I should have had this sorted on my own. And then the next thing is like, well, where's that person to come and help me like I help everyone else? I even have that thought sometimes. Like I coach people, and I've had many different coaches over the years, and there are times where I'm like, where's that person that just will understand things like I do? Now I've found that person now, and they are freaking awesome. And it's just great to be able to externalize and get clarity on what's going on. And the best sessions are where I'm not necessarily getting too much from the other person, but they're just asking me really good questions, and that's what high quality coaching is. So the question for you to ask yourself is, where are you expecting too much of yourself and expecting yourself to get it right on your own? Helping everyone else, keeping everyone else going, but then it's like, okay, what about me? And then you go into bad habits, whether that's eating, because that was the other thing that was happening in the back end last year. I was doing more comfort eating. I was just eating more than usual. I was still exercising, but not at the level that I need to eat as much as I did. And having put on a stack of weight back 20 years ago, or that's more than 20 years ago now, like I'm now very conscious of when I start putting some on, and I get, I don't know if it's paranoid or whatever, but I snap myself out of it pretty quick, but that's taken some practice. I broke my leg when I was in my 20s. I put on about 20 kilos, and it's a long road back. So once I got myself back to where I want to be, it's like, okay, I want to keep myself there. And a key part of that, something I mentioned earlier in the week, which is having the goals and plans in place so you know what needs to happen, how you snap yourself out of it, and actually, I'll see if I can put a link in the show notes for my health action plan, but worst case is message me, because the health action plan allows you to get really clear on the sort of things that might be unfolding for you when you start to head on that downward trajectory. And then when you find yourself in a hole, what are the warning signs for that path? And then what are the go-to activities that are going to get you back on track as quick as possible? Because having that structure certainly helps. But nothing helps as much as having that person there supporting you when you want to be better than you are, when you want to be high performance, when you know you're capable of so much more, when you know you've got the ability to have so much more success. You've seen snippets of it, but there are times when opportunities come, you're like, wow, I've attracted this awesome opportunity, and then it never quite eventuates. It never quite pans out. And then the comparison starts. You look at what other people are doing, and you might even judge yourself by how much money you're earning, and then you come down on yourself and go, you should have been doing better. Then it's a spiral, and that'll repeat. It repeated for me for years. Just get a little bit of a pay increase that just kept me interested enough for a while. Then I'd do the same cycle again. And probably another conversation, but part of that was not being able to articulate my value. But I was able to do that once I started having that support there. So, as always, if you're looking for someone that understands what's that like, what that is like, and you need to be able to externalize, and you've been thinking about it, then shoot me a message. Worst case is I'm going to say to you, it's nothing I can help you with, because I'll be really clear on that. If I can't help you, I'll tell you that. I learned very on in the coaching game that when I worked with coaches who shouldn't have taken me on because I wasn't ready for the sort of work that they were offering, that they should have let me go. I learned pretty quick that I will never do that. If I can't help you, I'll be honest about that, but I will steer you in the right direction to someone that I think can. But if I can, then we could talk about what that looks like. And it's going to change your life. You're going to wish you'd done it sooner, and you're going to be able to have a completely different outlook for your future. And that's the bit that excites me about helping people. It's what excites me about sharing these sort of messages with you guys. And like old mate today, don't spend your time struggling in the dark, feeling lost, and slipping into bad habits that you know are not doing you good, and they're certainly not doing your future any good, and they're not giving you the best chance to be that role model for the people in your world that you really want to be. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.